You know, I think everyone has this very specific movie version of police work in their heads.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The whole ride-along fantasy.
Right, exactly. You picture the high-speed chases, and you picture kicking down doors, and just this constant flowing adrenaline where you're the hero in an action movie.
It's the Hollywood edit. You get all the action and zero paperwork.
Yeah.
And definitely none of the waiting around.
Right, none of the waiting. But then there's the reality, and the reality isn't just that the job is 90% boring. It's that it is boring right up until the exact second it becomes absolutely terrifying.
You go from 0 to 100 in a split second.
Yes, that switch, that whiplash.
Right.
And today we are unpacking a source that captures that specific whiplash better than almost anything I've read recently.
We are doing a deep dive into a memoir piece titled Euclid Street Scrap.
Which is part of a larger collection called Echoes in Eternity.
Right. And you're spot on about the pacing. The pacing of this story is what makes it so incredibly effective.
Because it's not just a war story, is it? I mean, on the surface, sure, yeah, it's an action sequence about a drug raid. Yeah. But as I was reading through this, it felt a lot more like a case study.
A case study in preparedness versus reality.
Exactly. It's about how equipment choices and mindset and literally the actual physical mechanics of a machine can decide if you go home or not.
It really is a masterclass in the unintended consequences of the decisions you make before the chaos even starts. Mm-hmm. We're looking at a drug raid in Mount Clemens, Michigan. And what makes this stand out is that it focuses on a rookie officer learning a very hard lesson about what it actually means to be ready.
Yeah.
It's the difference between looking the part and doing the job.
So let's set the stage here. Because the mindset of the narrator is really crucial to understanding why things go so sideways later on.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a narrator who is effectively a kid. He's in his early 20s. He's on uniform patrol.
Right.
And he has this absolute, unshakable obsession with the cool kids table of the police department.
The Comet team.
The Comet team. The street narcotics team. And the way he describes them, it's just total hero worship. Mm. He says, for a rookie, there was nothing cooler than when Comet came to town. Why is that distinction so important in police culture?
Well, think about the organizational hierarchy in a department. You have the uniformed officers in marked cars handling the daily grind.
The day-to-day stuff.
Right. They are reactive. They take the accident reports. They handle the domestic disputes. They respond to noise complaints. They are essentially distinct from the hunt.
And then you have Comet.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. These guys drive undercover cars. They grow their hair long. They wear plain clothes. They handle the complex, dangerous investigations.
Yeah.
To a 20-something rookie who grew up watching Miami Vice or Lethal Weapon, they represent agency. They go out and find the bad guys. That is the definition of real police to someone at that stage in their career.
He literally says that.
Yeah.
He looked up to them as the real police. Mm-hmm. And his entire goal, his mission in life at that point, was to be the helpful uniformed guy whenever they needed backup. He's just hoping to get invited to the party.
It's like the freshmen trying to impress the varsity seniors.
Totally.
It's purely about validation. He wants to prove he belongs in that tier. And he's not alone in this either. He introduces his partner, Officer Jim Grasel. And this dynamic is really important for what happens later because they are essentially twins.
Yeah, let's talk about Grasel because they sound like mirror images of each other. Both rookies, same exact age, both played quarterback in high school, both had fathers who were cops.
It's like they were built in the exact same factory specifically to patrol this town.
Right, except for one key physical trait that the narrator highlights. Grasel was tough, and not just tough guy tough, but physically extremely capable.
The source actually notes that Grasel could punch harder than almost anyone I knew.
He mentions Grasel had these natural mechanics. He had already seen him knock down a couple of suspects who thought they could take him.
Which is a detail you really want to file away for later in the story.
Oh, absolutely, because it stops being just a character trait and becomes an absolute survival tool. So you have these two eager, athletic rookies patrolling together. They are just hungry for action. And then the radio chirps.
Car 56, 1019.
Which in plain English means?
Return to station. Now, usually for a patrol cop, that makes your stomach drop.
Yeah, you think you're in trouble.
Exactly. It implies you did something wrong. It means paperwork or a reprimand from the sergeant or maybe just a really boring lunch break. But as they pull into the parking lot at City Hall, they see the sign.
The blue Chevy cargo van.
The Comet raid van.
And the narrator says his heart just starts hammering. He says he couldn't park that scout car fast enough. It strikes me as the police equivalent of getting the call that you're starting in the big game.
Oh yeah, they run inside key through the employee entrance, and there they are. The plainclothes team is fully assembled in the squad room.
And this is where we meet the leader of the operation, Detective Sergeant Steve Thomas. But everyone calls him Red Man.
Red Man.
Now, I assume that's not a code name for his hair color.
No, it's a bit more literal and a little bit more gross. It's derived from the chewing tobacco he used while playing police softball.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the nickname isn't as important as his reputation. The narrator describes Thomas as one of the best cops he ever worked with. He was 20 years older than the rookies worked for the Macomb County Sheriff, but was assigned to this specific Comet unit.
The description of him really stood out to me because in high-stress units, at least in the movies, you often see leaders who are screamers.
Oh, yeah.
Super intense veins popping out of their necks.
Right, the drill sergeant type.
Yeah, but Thomas is described as even-tempered and approachable.
Which is often the most dangerous kind of effective. A calm leader breeds a calm team, usually. If the guy in charge is panicking, everyone panics. If he's cracking jokes, everyone relaxes.
Right.
So Thomas looks at the rookies and says, well, if it isn't Jimmy and Jimmy here to lend us a hand. He asks if they want to help with a search warrant.
Knowing full well they'd practically kill for the chance.
Exactly. He knows he has some very eager labor. So they get the briefing. The target is a house on the 100 block of Euclid Street.
And this isn't a great neighborhood. The source notes it was plagued by prostitution and street corner sales of crack cocaine. This specific house was a supplier.
Physically, it's described as a square, 2-story bungalow, white vinyl siding, big covered front porch. It sounds like a pretty standard residential setup, which honestly often makes things trickier.
Because of the neighbors.
Neighbors, fences, alleys. You're operating in a fishbowl.
So Thomas lays out the plan on a whiteboard. It's a standard hit and hold right.
Correct. The Comet crew, the veterans, they take the front door with the battering ram. That's the high-risk entry. That's the glamour role, if you can call it. The rookies, they get the less glamorous but crucial job, which is the back.
The alley detail.
Right. The narrator and Grasel are assigned to park in the alley, watch the windows on the east side, and cover the back door to catch runners. It's containment. If anyone squirts out the back, it's their job to scoop them up.
So the briefing breaks, and they head out. It's a cold January night. The source mentions the snow had stopped, but it was cold enough that everyone is exhaling these big clouds of vapor. That atmosphere feels really heavy in the text, that mixture of pure adrenaline and freezing air.
It really sets the stakes. It's dark, there's accumulated snow reflecting the moonlight, they move in a convoy, raid van, a sheriff's unit with 2 deputies and the rookies in the rear. They turn on a Euclid and kill their headlights. This is full stealth mode.
And this is where we get to the first major lesson of the story. The narrator makes a decision here that he spends the rest of the piece analyzing. He parks in the shadow of this overgrown elm tree in the alley. He's getting out of the car, and he reaches for the weapon mount.
This is the moment. He grabs the Remington 870 12-gauge shotgun.
Not to a layperson, or even to me, honestly, that sounds like a smart move. You're raiding a crack house. You don't know who is in there. You want big firepower, right? Why is this a mistake?
It's a classic conflict between stopping power and mobility. In the narrator's head, he's thinking raid. He's thinking about the intimidation factor of racking a shotgun. He wants to look the part of the heavy hitter, but he's not thinking about his specific assignment. He is on containment.
Which means he might have to chase someone.
Exactly. A shotgun is heavy, it's long, and most importantly, it requires 2 hands to operate effectively. If you have to run or climb a fence or crucially go hands-on to wrestle someone into cuffs, that shotgun becomes a massive liability.
Because you can't just put it away.
You can't just holster it like a pistol.
Huh.
It's effectively a 10-pound metal bar you have to carry while trying to do gymnastics.
But in that moment, the adrenaline just takes over. He racks around into the chamber, that distinct chunk sound just as he hears Thomas on the front porch.
Police, search warrant.
And then the boom of the battering ram. The door flies open.
And chaos inside. The narrator hears muffled shouting, "Show me your hands, get on the floor," standard compliance commands, but then the dynamic shifts instantly. The plan disintegrates.
He hears his partner Grasel shout, "Police, stop."
The containment is broken. A suspect, a black male, bolts out the back door and sprints south down the dark alley.
And the race is on. Grasel takes off after him. The 2 deputies from the sheriff's unit are right behind Grasel, and the narrator is bringing up the rear.
And here is where that shotgun decision starts to bite him immediately. He says he's running as fast as he can, but he's hindered by carrying the weapon with both hands. It completely breaks his natural running stride. He's watching his partner and the deputies pull away from him.
It's like trying to sprint carrying a fence post. He realizes right then and there that he's brought the wrong tool for the job.
Exactly, and Grasel is fast. He's closing the gap. By the time they hit the next block, Grasel tackles the guy.
And it's not a clean tackle where everyone just stops. The source describes it as an absolute Donnybrook. They are on the ground, rolling around in the snow, throwing punches and elbows. The suspect is fighting to escape. One of the deputies jumps on top of the pile to help hold the guy down.
So visualize this pile. It is messy. You have the suspect on his hands and knees trying to stand up, bucking like a bronco. You have a deputy lying on top of him, trying to use his body weight to pin him. Grasel is there, trying to get control of an arm. The narrator is just arriving at the scene, lungs burning, still clutching that shotgun he can't use.
And this is the exact moment where the story pivots from a standard resisting arrest to a near execution.
It happens in a fraction of a second. The suspect reaches back with his right hand. And he doesn't just grab at the deputy, he grabs the deputy's gun.
A stainless steel Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum.
And he yanks it right out of the holster.
I can't even imagine seeing that. The suspect is holding the gun and he screams, quote, "Look what I got, motherfucker!"
That declaration is terrifying. It removes any ambiguity. He's not bluffing. He's not trying to throw the gun away. He has the weapon, he has the position, and he is announcing his intent to use it on the people pinning him down. But this is where Grasel, the rookie, who we established could punch hard and had good mechanics, shows incredible presence of mind.
What does he do? Because from the narrator's perspective, time just seems to stop.
In the split second, it took the narrator's brain to even process that a gun was in play. Grasel reacted. He snatched the gun out of the man's hand. But he didn't just grab the barrel or the grip. The narrator emphasizes a very specific technical detail. Grasel clamped his hand over the rotating cylinder as he pulled it away.
Okay, I really want to pause on that. Why does covering the cylinder matter? Is it just about getting a good physical grip on the weapon?
No, it's purely mechanical, and this is the part that gives me chills. On a revolver specifically, a double-action revolver like a .357, the mechanics are exposed. When you pull the trigger, a lever pushes the cylinder to rotate it, lining up the next bullet with the barrel. If that cylinder cannot rotate, the trigger cannot be pulled back, the hammer cannot fall, the gun cannot fire.
So by gripping the cylinder tight, he didn't just wrestle for it, he mechanically jammed the gun.
Exactly. If that had been a semi-automatic pistol, like a Glock grabbing the top slide, might cause a jam after one shot, or it might not stop the trigger at all. But on a revolver, gripping that cylinder is an absolute safety switch. Whether it was training or pure survival instinct, by clamping his hand over the meat of that revolver, he prevented the suspect from firing, even if the suspect was squeezing the trigger with all his might.
Wow. Okay, so that split-second decision probably saved the deputy's life, and maybe Grasel's too.
Without a doubt. So Grasel rips the gun away. He's still kneeling. He turns and hands the revolver to the narrator, who has just run up.
And this creates a surreal image in the alley. The narrator is standing there in the cold. He's got his Remington shotgun in one hand, which he still can't really put down. And now he's holding a huge .357 Magnum in the other. He says, "Now, I had two guns in my hand."
And the crazy part is the suspect is still fighting.
That's the wild part. You'd think losing the gun would stop him.
Adrenaline is a powerful drug. The gun grab amped everyone up even more. The narrator finally tucks the handgun into his waistband and uses the butt of that shotgun, since he can't holster it, to help pin the man so they can get handcuffs on him. They essentially have to physically subdue him even after disarming him.
So the dust finally settles, the suspect is cuffed, and everyone is just standing there in the cold, exhaling these clouds of vapor.
Yeah.
The silence must have been deafening after all that screaming.
It's a huge shift. And the narrator looks at the deputy who lost his gun. This is the part that really sticks with me because it shifts the tone from action to consequence.
This is the older deputy.
Right. He looks shell-shocked. He quietly says thanks when he gets his gun back. But the context here is heartbreaking. This wasn't a young hotshot like the narrator or Grasel. This was an older man, usually assigned to prisoner transport and court security.
Relatively safe duties.
Exactly. He jumped into the fray to help a fellow cop, which is commendable, but his physical condition wasn't up to the Donnybrook.
And the source says this incident was the end for him.
Yes. He retired from police work just a few days later. That moment, feeling his own weapon turned against him, realizing how close he came to dying in a dirty alley over a piece of crack cocaine, was the absolute breaking point.
Meanwhile, the suspect goes to the hospital, then jail, and eventually gets convicted for the drugs and the felonies from that night. But I want to go back to the narrator. He's a rookie. He just watched a man almost get executed with a police weapon. You'd think that would scare him straight or at least make him hesitate about this career path.
You would think. But listen to his reflection. He acknowledges the terror. He acknowledges that Grasel likely saved several lives that night, but then he says, "The events that night did nothing to curb my enthusiasm for police work. To the contrary, it was everything I expected and desired."
That is brutally honest. It's almost startling to read.
It creates this stark contrast between the rookie mindset and the veteran mindset. The older deputy saw the horror of it. He saw it as mortality. The rookie saw the rush. He saw it as validation of the career he chose. It was the ride-along fantasy becoming real, and he survived it. It didn't push him away. It hooked him deeper.
He does mention one tactical lesson learned, though. He never carried a shotgun on a raid like that again.
Right. He lists the reasons clearly in retrospect. First, rule number 1, never shoot into the house during a raid, so the range of the shotgun is useless. Second, you can't run. And third, as we saw, you can't go hands-on without risking someone taking the weapon from you. He realized that if you're in the alley, your job is to chase and tackle. A shotgun prevents you from doing your job.
It's a very hard way to learn that lesson.
But a memorable one. He essentially realized he had brought a tool for intimidation to a situation that required agility. He was dressing for the role he wanted the heavy hitter instead of the role he actually had the containment guy.
So when you look at this whole story, from the hero worship of the Comet team to the frozen alleyway, what is the big takeaway? Why does this specific story matter for you to read?
For me, it circles back to that cylinder. It's the fragility of the situation. You have a chaotic brawl in the dark. You have a suspect screaming, "Look what I got." In 99 out of 100 scenarios, that ends with a gunshot. Either the deputy gets shot or the officers loot the suspect to save the deputy. The only reason it didn't is because a 20-something rookie had the hand strength and the split-second processing speed to grab the one mechanical part of the gun that mattered.
It highlights how incredibly thin the line is.
Yeah.
The narrator is standing there with two guns, realizing that if Grasel had been half a second slower, or if his grip had slipped, the narrative changes from a Cool War story to a funeral.
And it reinforces that Comet mystique for them. They survived the chaos. They earned their stripes. But for the older deputy, that same chaos was assigned to get out.
It really makes you question where that line is between adrenaline and trauma. It seems like for the rookies, it was fuel. For the veteran, it was poison.
Precisely. The cost of adrenaline isn't the same for everyone. And sometimes you don't know what the cost is until you're staring down the barrel of your own gun. It asks you to consider at what point does the thrill of the scrap stop being worth the risk. The narrator hadn't reached that point yet. The deputy had.
That's a very heavy thought to leave on, but I think it's the right one. It's a fascinating look at the psychology behind the badge and the reality behind the ride-along fantasy.
Absolutely. A really visceral read.
Well, that's going to do it for this deep dive into the Euclid Street scrap. A huge thank you to the source material for giving us such an honest look inside that world. As always, thanks to you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.